We're going to throw it out to you, Rob, and I believe you have a special guest with you. Am I wrong?
Oh, no, you're not wrong at all, Steve. I have a very special guest. We're backstage just so he doesn't get mobbed. No, hey, please stay with me. Stay with me. It's Mr. Bryan Cranston, who is just on the main stage. Sir, it's such a pleasure to get a chance to meet you.
Nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Absolutely. We have a huge worldwide audience, over tens of 20s of people that are watching us live right now. A question for you. You mentioned some of the things you do and how important it is to remain grounded. Are there specific things that you do as part of a daily routine, as part of anything else to kind of keep yourself in that grounded mode?
I just think that if I'm to be recognized for anything, that I should do something worthy of recognition. That I don't want to be a celebrity for celebrity's sake. I am kind of uncomfortable with some celebrity. In fact, when I'm in when I go to a public place, and my wife knows this, I look for old people, even older than me, like in their 70s and 80s and whatever, because they have a less likelihood of knowing who I am. And I can always guarantee that I will get a real honest exchange and they won't treat me differently because they recognize me. So that's what I yearn for. I yearn for honest conversation and openness in that, but not to have the subject be so centric to me. I keep wanting to turn it around. So usually if you'll see me in public and someone comes toward me, I will say something about them first. Right. To say, look at you with your shorts and where are you from? You from somewhere, and try to redirect it so that it's not one way. Right. We like exchanges, and I'm no different.
Do you ever have to fight that imposter impulse when you're, you mentioned the gentleman on the...
Me? An imposter?
Not saying you're an imposter. Implying the fact that obviously at some point in time, every bit of work that we do is always to be credited to the people that we get to work around, and we're just maybe the most visible part of it. Have you run into having to suppress any of that impulse or people overly crediting you? You mentioned the guy on the ladder for one.
I constantly. You look, when you're, take Breaking Bad, for example. I was the face of the show because I was Walter White. The genius was not me, you're right. It's Vince Gilligan and the writing staff. Right. It's as if I was Sammy Hagar in Van Halen singing, and Van Halen, and they wrote all the music. I just sang. Right. So that's who I am. I'm Sammy Hagar.
Well, at what point in something like Breaking Bad do you guys don't know when, of course, when you embark on a new show like that, if it's going to take off, and so the writers have to work with something that may be shorter term, and they don't know how your character's exactly going to develop. Right. Did you get a sense that they were starting to realize that they could write differently for you based on the way your character was maturing?
We didn't know what was going to happen to Breaking Bad. It was just this little show that was shooting in the desert of New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And all I knew is that it was extremely well written. And that's what drew me to it. And reading through those scripts was like getting a present every week. And I would open it up and see what great things, what odd, weird things that Walter White was going to have to do. And it was great. And sometimes I felt, okay, the guideposts are so clear in well-written material that all I have to do is not bump into the furniture, just kind of navigate my way through and I'll be fine. But certainly, it's the genesis of the show itself, Vince Gilligan and his staff, that deserve the lion's share credit with every show. It really is, with every show. The actors are the face of it, but it's the writing behind it that's everything. It means everything.
No, I'm a big believer in that, and I follow a lot of his work. But to your new projects and some of the stuff you're able to do now that you've had that break and that new celebrity, you seem to be pushing yourself in creative directions that might be a challenge for you. Are you purposely seeking out things that may stretch you in your capabilities?
Yes, I wrote a book last year, and when I was asked to write the book, I was challenged because I didn't know if I can do it. I really didn't. I hadn't written a book before. But that was part of the excitement of it. It's like, I don't know, maybe I might fall flat on my face. It might be great. I have no idea. So just try it. I'm producing shows right now, a few that I create on my own, and a few that I meet with other writers and we co-create or something like that. And so we have 4 shows in the pipeline right now that will come out, and it's exciting because, like you said, I'm trying new things, but it's still all related to storytelling, and that's where my heart is. I love storytelling.
Well, I want to tell you, I'm a big fan of Sneaky Pete.
Oh, great.
And I really like the character you developed in that. And as I was poking into that, I didn't realize you had such a portion of controlling that with your production company. Is it Moonshot?
Moonshot. Yeah, I co-created that series with David Shore.
Well, I'm anxious for more episodes
Yes.
to come out with that
They're coming.
as well. It's a wonderful, and I love the character you play in that, and the fact that you're such a chameleon, and that you can adopt these characters, and I forget who you were previously, and either begin to hate or love you just as much, depending on what you're playing, and I think that's a true testament to your art. What could we see coming out from you in the future? Anything you could talk about next on the horizon?
I created a show that on Amazon that comes out next year that I'm really proud of. It's called The Dangerous Book for Boys, based on the best-selling international book. It's a family show that you could watch with your kids. It's sweet, it's funny, it's engaging, it's adventurous, it's fantastic, and it embraces boyhood, as boys should be. And to have boys go out and explore, make mistakes, you know, build a fort, do something interesting, get off of your devices and your iPads and everything, get your noses up, look at the clouds in the sky, and who knows what you may find. And so that comes out next year on Amazon, and Sneaky Pete's second season comes out next year as well. I also have an anthology series called Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams, which is a science fiction styled show based on the writer's short stories that we're really proud of, and really eclectic, odd, interesting, compelling storytelling, and it's really fun. And the fourth one I have is Super Mansion. Super Mansion is an animated series about superheroes who live in the same house. It's a lot of fun.
Just got to shacken up to save money, that type of thing?
Yeah, well, there was some austerity programs, you know, and they had to, you know, save money, and the government said you all have to live together, and it's really funny, and that's available on Crackle.com.
You did some stuff with Robot Chicken and stuff as well,
Yeah.
so this is not your first foray into that medium, yeah?
I enjoy it. It's a different way of storytelling, but it's fun.
Well, I love that final piece of advice that you gave out there in terms of we just have to have the freedom to go out and just fall on our face, to not be afraid to express ourselves. I'm paraphrasing, of course, and I appreciate that. I think it's one of the best pieces of advice we can give ourselves, because it's one of those things I think I have to remind myself as well.
The thing that I would much rather have is knowing that I wasn't able to do something well, as opposed to having regret that I didn't try something. That's the thing I don't want. I don't want to have any regret in my life. If I try something and I fail, at least I'll be able to go, ooh, wow, I was really bad at that. Yeah. So I won't do that again, but I'm glad I now know. Yeah. Do you know? And what's really the repercussions from something like that? Not much. You can apologize and move on and say, you know, someone else is going to be better equipped to do this than I was.
Yeah, the failure is usually a lot bigger in our heads than it is in reality in most situations.
Exactly right.
Brian, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for spending time with Cisco, sharing your wisdom, and just being who you are, and keep creating. We're going to keep following and enjoying what you're doing.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, and thanks to all of you who are watching today. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So, guys, I'm going to throw it back over to the studio. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview Mr. Cranston.
Rob and Brian, thank you so much. A fantastic interview there. Shari, what I loved about what Brian was just